Welcome back everyone, this is my second video taking a look at specific SCPs, and today we've got SCP-174. If you guys don't know what the SCP Foundation is, well, it's creepy, it's fascinating, and it's the most requested kind of video we now have on this channel, I think. For more information about it, pause the video and Google it, there's a lot to learn. Something tells me though that a lot of you already know about the SCP Foundation and that you just want me to get right into this video, so let's do that right now. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 scary SCP facts that will keep you up at night. At number 10 now, we have the recap. Let's quickly talk about 174 before we go into any details. 174 is a wooden ventriloquist doll, 21 centimeters in height. It has ragged clothing and seems to date from the early 20th century. When looked at in the peripherals of vision, 174 will stare at you with a longing and sad expression. This disappears when staring at 174 directly. People nearby report a general feeling of sadness or sympathy toward the figure, but cannot explain the reason for these feelings. Prolonged exposure can lead an individual to personify the figure, treating it as if it was a real person. And we haven't even got to what happens when people touch it. Next up at number 9 now, we have contact. Didn't have to wait too long to find out about the touching thing, did we? Things get taken up a notch here. When 174 is placed on people's hands, they express an urge to converse with it. The person will begin speaking to 174 and moving its mouth. Their voice raises in pitch and becomes childlike. They speak for the puppet. The Foundation's own recordings with high sensitivity microphones have determined that at no point does 174 speak. All of the sound seems to be coming from the person, and despite their lack of experience as a ventriloquist, the act is always perfect. This conversation will quickly lead to 174 talking through the person about its own past, a history of being abandoned or mistreated. An interesting fact is that through all the experiments done so far, a story has never been repeated. Moving on to number 8 now, we have the psychic link. By this point in the story, most people naturally ask one question: how is 174 doing this? It seems to obviously have a power over people. Is it voodoo? Is it a trick? Maybe some kind of technology? Well, the research is still ongoing, but so far the Foundation believes it has something to do with psychic energy. In the report, the Foundation noted that the people most likely to display the behavior we've talked about had low psychic resistance scores. We have no way of knowing what this test is to come up with a score that they're talking about, but it seems like standard practice for the Foundation to do. You guys might think that they want people with a low psychic resistance for these tests, but actually it's the opposite. There's no telling what SCPs like 174 would do with a low resistance mind. At the very beginning of the entry, they recommend that only people with high psychic resistance scores interact with 174, and that everyone in contact with 174 undergoes psychological evaluations afterwards. Moving on to number 7 now, we have baby. The Foundation noticed that if certain people are left alone with 174 for long enough, they not only start to talk for it and hold it like a baby, they begin to get very protective over it, let's say. This is perhaps one of the creepiest quirks about the whole thing. By this point, some people begin to refer to 174 as their baby and use similar strong terms of endearment when referring to it. Unlike the other symptoms, this referring to 174 as their baby doesn't actually stop when they are removed from the room. Usually it takes hours for people to stop referring to 174 as their baby. The Foundation even noticed one case where an individual referred to 174 as their baby for 2 whole weeks. Next up at number 6 now, we have Addendum 1. On the official record, the Foundation gives us not 1 but 2 addendums, extra bits of information that have been added on to the report. There are 2 logs of real interactions on here that were observed between a subject and 174. In the first one, the subject is a 21-year-old female with no history of violent crime. She puts her hand on 174 and after 2 minutes she asks, "What happened to you?" 174 then begins to talk about how it was left behind and damaged in a house fire by its last owner. Remember that because it'll be important later. She consoles 174. 174 says it's lonely and it wants friends. She then begins to pound on the door to the room with her free hand. When the guard enters, she then recoils into the corner of the room and begins whispering to 174. The guard removed her from the room, at which point she then tried to escape, screaming, "They have him." my wonderful baby. Next up at number 5 now, we have Addendum 2. It seems only right that we transition straight from the first one to the second one now. The second one was a lot shorter, and it wasn't actually an experiment like the first one was. Essentially, a doctor who works for the Foundation entered storage unit 7 to find 174 sitting on the floor next to its containment unit, looking directly at the main entrance door. The door to 174's unit had been sealed shut, with no access having been logged in the previous week. After being put back into containment, video surveillance was installed within storage unit 7 as a precaution against future translocations, and a GPS tracking unit was attached to 174. That's crazy. Essentially, they found 174 had moved outside of its cell even though the door was locked. They were so concerned that they put a tracker on a doll. Let's not forget, this is still a doll. It's not supposed to move. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Doctor. I want to talk about the Doctor in this whole thing. Their full name is actually redacted from the whole report. We only know them as Dr. A, so that's what I'll refer to them as. We know that Dr. A is in charge, as at the beginning of the report, the Foundation instructs that any abnormal activity must be reported to Dr. A. Dr. A was also the one that found that 174 had been moved out of its cell in the previous one we talked about. We also know that Dr. A was the supervising researcher during Addendum 1, the one where the woman had to be ripped away from 174. Dr. A was also the one who ordered the experiment was concluded. Right after that, it says the woman was terminated. Now I'm really hoping that just means her job, but yeah, I really fear the worst with that one. Terminated. Next up at number 3 now, we have childhood. As with many SCPs, the Foundation is often interested in how they affect individuals differently. It's a good way of figuring out what makes an SCP tick, and also to uphold the Foundation's mantra of secure, contain, protect. Well, one theory that seems to be going around is that 174 responds to people's childhood events. Researchers have noticed that each story seems to be based around a theme that will have particular resonance with the current subject. The first addendum says that 174 began talking about how it was left behind in a house fire. Researchers immediately noted that the woman who was with 174 was the victim of an arson attack when she was younger. Is this a coincidence? Possibly, but it seems like 174 may have known this, perhaps through the psychic link we talked about earlier. Moving on to number 2 now, we have 174J. In my quest for more information on 174, I found a page on the SCP Sandbox wiki that describes something called 174J. This is interesting because it's not mentioned anywhere else in the report. 174J is a malevolent entity that takes the form of a purple dinosaur. If you're racking your brain now thinking of how many purple dinosaurs you know, there's really only one. It's Barney. It's said to be capable of producing an unidentified mental effect that induces happiness and an urge to act like a small child to anyone who views it. If it's around actual small children of that age, it will begin a ritual where it begins singing a happy themed song based on itself.
That's because I have so many friends that I love.
Perhaps most disturbingly was the fact that 174J escaped from containment and caused other SCPs to escape too. What exactly is the link between 174 and 174J? Why did the Foundation categorize these two so closely? Perhaps 174 was the first malicious children's toy they found, and everything similar now falls under this 174 category. That's what I think anyway. And finally, number 1 now, we have the timeline. One thing that I started to think about when I read all of this was how long has 174 been with the Foundation? Well, the fact that it's only 174 on the list says a lot. That means the Foundation only discovered 173 other SCPs before this one, so it must have been fairly early on. The dates are expunged from the record, but we know that experts said the doll must have come from the early 20th century at the earliest. I also know that the report was published in 2010. That doesn't mean that's when they first got their hands on 174 though. The report says they had to terminate the girl in that experiment because they hadn't invented amnestics, the drug used to wipe people's memories of an SCP. However, in that very same record, the Foundation recommends using Class B or stronger amnestics to treat people who mentally collapse after an encounter with 174. This suggests that they had 174 in their possession for a long time now and may have done many experiments on it. Some people speculate that they may still have 174 somewhere out there. This creepy puppet doll sits in a sealed room and waits for the next person whose mind it can manipulate and twist. What a lovely thought. Good stuff to end on. Right, we've now done 2 videos on 2 specific SCPs, only about 6,000 more to go. We're making progress. Which one would you like to see next? I'll be going through the comment section on this video, and if I see a comment that has an SCP with a few upvotes, then I'll add it to the list. How does that sound? Thanks for watching as always, guys. My name is Danny Burke, and I will see you all in the next video.